Conservative new media viewers, LA Lakers fans around the world, Jeremy Lin fans around the world. What's up? It's me, PFV, Paul F. Villarreal, the NBA expert. And we're here to talk about, in the long video format, the Lakers' 106-94 defeat tonight to the Portland Trail Blazers at Staples Center, Los Angeles, California. With the loss, the Lakers dropped to 12-26 on the season. Portland improves to 30-8 on the year. Quick stats. Damian Lillard led all scorers with 34 points, 3 rebounds, 7 assists. Damian was a plus 13 for the game. He also shot 13 of 23 in the game, over 50%. LaMarcus Aldridge, 15 points, 9 rebounds. Wesley Matthews, 16 points, 5 assists. The Lakers got 17 points and 4 rebounds from Wesley Johnson. Jordan Hill, 14 points and 5 rebounds. Ronnie Price, 8 points, 12 assists. Jeremy Lin off the bench, 9 points in 19 minutes, 3 of 9 shooting, no three-point attempts. 3 of 4 from the free throw line, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, no steals, no blocks, 1 turnover, no personal fouls committed, and his plus-minus was a -9. Also, as I mentioned in the short video, Ronnie Price was a -12 in the game, which was the worst among the Lakers players. That means when Ronnie was on the court, the Lakers were outscored by 12 points. Also, I should say that Carlos Boozer had another strong outing, 13 points and 9 rebounds. Okay, now what happened in this game? What happened was the game was close almost the whole way. It was very close heading into the fourth quarter. The Blazers were only up by 3 points. So the Lakers had a chance to win this game the same way that they had a chance to win the game last week in Portland when the Blazers ended up winning that game by 4 points, 98-94. But then about midway through the fourth quarter, Damian Lillard totally took over, and he was being guarded by Ronnie Price, also known as Byron Scott's head of the snake. And Ronnie just couldn't do anything to slow him down. Now, there was a lot of criticism after Damian Lillard performed similarly in the win in Portland. And so Byron Scott and some other Lakers fans felt like, look, if we had Ronnie around, maybe with a little bit better defense as compared with Jeremy, that's the theory anyway, then maybe we win that game. Maybe we were able to squeak out the win in that game. Well, tonight Ronnie was there, and he couldn't do anything against Damian Lillard. He had some moments earlier in the game, but in this stretch of time, the fourth quarter, Damian just did whatever he wanted. Something that was mentioned by Lillard himself after the game in Portland was that he said he had to use a pick. He had to have someone set a screen for him to get around Jeremy Lin. Whereas it appears as though he does not need to use a screen to get around Ronnie Price. And we saw that tonight. The highlight of this entire game came, I believe it was late in the game. It was either the middle or the late in the fourth quarter. Damian Lillard dribbling from left to right went by Ronnie Price, driving to his right, then went into the lane and was somewhat challenged by Jordan Hill, but he went up and basically over and around Jordan Hill and another would-be Lakers defender, I think it might have been Ed Davis, and just dunked like huge. You will see it. It's on all the highlights. You can find it on Twitter and Vine and anywhere else. And he also was fouled on the play. So that was kind of the exclamation point on the night. So the upshot here is that having Ronnie Price around didn't make a difference against Damian Lillard. And the Lakers were not able to slow down Damian Lillard. And that was it. When it came to crunch time, Portland accelerated. The Lakers kind of stayed in neutral, and they got outscored in the fourth quarter, did the Lakers, by 9 points. And that was pretty much, that was the ball game right there and then. So there's a whole bunch to talk about with this game. That, again, is kind of the overview of what took place tonight. Now I'm going to talk about what was going on leading up to the game. First thing is that Joey Ramirez of Lakers.com wrote a really good article that I put out on Twitter about Jeremy Lin, about how Jeremy Lin is progressing with the team. Jeremy had an excellent outing against the Orlando Magic, and I thought he was the player of the game. Of course, Tariq Black played great in that game, but I thought Jeremy was the overall player of the game, even though Tariq had kind of a breakout game, basically. So he had quotes in the article, did Joey, from Jeremy himself and from Byron Scott, which apparently came from practice yesterday on Saturday. Jeremy was saying, like, yeah, I'm figuring out more of what to do, kind of understanding my spots more, this type of thing. He feels like he's getting more aggressive on defense. He mentioned how he used to be more of a defensive-oriented player when he came into the league, which is true. If you paid attention to Jeremy in Golden State, or if you've looked at his history, he was much more focused on defense at that time. I think he was up among the league leaders in steals, which he said himself, and he's right about that. He was high up. So now he feels like he's starting to be able to put more attention and focus back onto his defense. And that's great. That's certainly going to help him with Byron and probably with other defensively oriented coaches like Kevin McHale, etc. And so it's good. We want Jeremy to have a complete game and be able to balance the energy that he uses between offense and defense. So Jeremy said he's getting back to being aggressive on defense. I believe he also said he was, kind of settling into things in Los Angeles a little bit more, and he was able to kind of, put it all together in the Orlando game. Basically, it might have been his most complete game of the season. And Joey mentioned that it might have been the best defensive game of Jeremy's career in terms of statistically. I don't know if that's true or not, but it certainly was a very good game by him in all facets, including defense. Now, what Byron said is, he said he feels like Jeremy's getting his confidence back, which is good. And I think Byron is correct about that based upon what I have seen and what I have read from Jeremy himself, like blog posts and just what Jeremy has been talking about. He also said that he believes, Byron does, that when Jeremy's playing good defense, then that fuels Jeremy's offense, that's probably true. That's a common thing for a lot of players. When you get it going on one side of the floor, it helps the other side of the floor. And he also said, did Byron, that he feels like Jeremy knows what Byron wants him to do now. In other words, Jeremy has an understanding of what Byron's looking for as a coach. And so if he does these things, like playing defense, then he's going to get more playing time. So this goes along with what Jeremy wrote in a recent blog post, I believe, on his official site, saying, I think, that he's settling into things more. He is kind of stepping back, not trying to rush things, not trying to avoid the trials of life, I believe is the way that he said it, not getting frustrated with things or trying to speed things up in terms of his development. And it's kind of all starting to come together now. And it's great to see. Now, that doesn't mean that Byron's going to start him. That doesn't mean that Byron's going to give him more minutes than Ronnie Price right now. But it's still a good development. It's an important for Jeremy to do what he needs to do, regardless of whatever anybody else does, including Byron Scott. So I think Jeremy's getting more to that point now. And he played well tonight. He didn't shoot super well, but he had good energy. He was doing what he could against Damian Lillard in the time that he was guarding him. And I thought Jeremy kind of led the comeback a little bit midway through the game, I want to say is when it was. It was just kind of directing traffic and getting things moving. So he didn't hit double figures in scoring, and his points per shot was only 1 point per one shot, which isn't great, but I thought overall he played pretty well, even though he didn't get a lot of minutes tonight. Against a very good team. Portland's one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the league right now, based on their performance. Okay, now, also before the game, there's a number of things to discuss that took place before the game. Byron admitted that he made a mistake in playing Kobe too many minutes earlier in the season. And so now we're kind of seeing the effects of that. Kobe missed tonight's game, and he missed the last game against Orlando. And this was the 6th missed game of the season for Kobe. So there's been 38 games played, and Kobe has missed 6 of them. Now, when is Kobe going to be back? I don't know. I'm not sure. I guess Kobe obviously must be hurting or feeling sore or something like that. There has even been discussion or speculation that they could shut Kobe down for the season, meaning kind of like just let him, almost like you're injured and just shut it down. And that's it. You're not playing anymore. Is that going to happen right now? The answer is no. They're not ready to make that decision yet, apparently, from what I've heard. But just the fact that is being brought up as a possibility kind of gives you insight that who knows how much longer Kobe's actually going to be able to play, and at what level he's going to be able to play, and how many minutes he's going to be able to play, and how much more can his body take, I guess. And again, I have no idea what the answer is to that. The answers are to those questions. We're just going to have to see. Hopefully, Kobe is not too hurt, and his body isn't in too much pain, and he'll be able to return soon and play at a level that works for him and play at kind of the level that he expects to be able to play. We'll just have to see what's going on. So, again, Byron kind of took the blame for that before the game tonight. I mentioned about what Damian Lillard said, and the one thing that was good for the team tonight was everybody except Kobe was ready to play. They were all healthy and able to play, except, of course, for Julius Randle, the rookie who was out for the season. But this was kind of like the team at full depth minus Kobe. Wesley Johnson was back from his hip injury. Tariq Black's playing. Ryan Kelly's playing. So this was a good, deep squad tonight. And they did show promise. I mean, yeah, they got beat by 12, but we're starting to see what the kind of some hope and some ability and some real depth on the team. And that's going to help going forward. Now, of course, the Lakers will have to decide who are they going to re-sign, who are they going to let go. Obviously, Julius Randle will be coming back, hopefully at full strength. But there's more athletes on the team. Ryan Kelly being back helps a lot in terms of his ability to shoot and his length Tariq Black's a good fit. Ed Davis has been a good find. There's some excitement there. Now, there's still plenty of more pieces to add, but you can see some legitimate quality on the roster now, and it's good. It's good. Again, you need the depth to be able to really compete in the league. Okay, now, as I mentioned, the Portland only beat the Lakers by 4 points in Portland 6 days ago, and tonight they were able to win by 12. So it's obviously there's going to be a lot of comparing between the two situations. And let me say that just statistically speaking, I put this up on Twitter right after the game as soon as I was able to dig it up. Here's how Damian Lillard did. In tonight's game, in the fourth quarter, he scored 17 points on 6 of 8 shooting. Okay? And one of the misses that he had in the fourth quarter in that 17 points, or the 6 of 8 field goal attempts, was Jeremy Lin guarding him on a 3-point shot earlier in the quarter. Okay? In Portland, when Lillard was also going against Jeremy because Ronnie Price had gotten hurt in that game in the third quarter and did not play for the rest of the game, Damian had 16 points, and he shot 5 out of 7. So it was very similar, but Damian scored one more point tonight, and he shot a slightly higher field goal percentage. So again, the concept, the idea that Ronnie was going to make a big difference didn't come to fruition tonight. And as we said, maybe it's a little bit easier for Ronnie to go around, for Damian to go around Ronnie Price off the dribble. Maybe that makes things a little simpler for him than it is for him to do so against Jeremy Lin. I also think it's a little easier for Damian to finish at the rim with Ronnie guarding him than Jeremy, because Jeremy's taller and he can get up and block shots, which we've seen him do against various point guards around the league. Now, just quickly after the game, but this is I will talk more about after the game stuff later. Ronnie said that the mask that he's wearing to protect his broken nose he doesn't like it. So maybe that's kind of slowing him down a little bit, or didn't help him tonight. But whatever the case, like I said, he had his challenges in trying to slow down Damian Lillard tonight. Okay, let's talk about quarter by quarter here. Let's go through it bit by bit. Again, plenty to discuss. Now, the Blazers were playing without two important big men for them. Their starting center, Robin Lopez, and backup big man, Joel Freeland. So they were not at full strength either, just as the Lakers were not without Kobe. Then Ronnie started out the game and was doing okay against Damian Lillard. He got a steal against Damian relatively early in the game. I think that was the only steal that Ronnie would get in the entire game, but he did start out well. And that's right. That was Ronnie's only steal of the night. So he came out looking to be aggressive against Damian Lillard. Soon after the play in which he stole the ball from Damian Lillard, then Damian Lillard came back and hit a 3-point shot over Ronnie Price. So maybe that was a payback move. I'm not sure. That made the score 9-2 in favor of the Blazers. Then Damian was able to beat Ronnie off of the dribble, but he missed the layup at the rim because of the help defense of either Jordan Hill or Ed Davis. This is middle of the first. Then Damian had another miss where he was in transition and he went up for a reverse layup. He just barely missed it, and I believe actually Ronnie did a good job contesting the shot there. So I think he might have helped force Damian into the miss. Then I made a note that said Jeremy must play better defense to get more playing time. Because again, at this point in time, Ronnie was making good effort on defense. He was having some impact on Lillard on defense. Now, that wasn't going to be the case later in the game, but Jeremy is capable of playing good defense, which his numbers show that. And we saw it in the Orlando game, and he's discussing how he can do that when he puts the energy and the focus into it. So he just needs to keep working on it. And again, he's at a point in his development where he's trying to figure out how to allocate his energy into different parts of his game. When do I focus more on defense? When do I focus more on offense? When do I pass? When do I shoot? Etc. And he's still working on his skill level to be able to do all of the things on offense that he wants to be able to do, and as well as someone on defense. You can constantly improve on defense as well. Okay, heading into late in the first, Damian Lillard got an and one layup in transition, I believe. Kind of just got free on the fast break. And soon it was 19-13 for the Blazers with 2 minutes and 45 seconds left. And you could see that Jeremy Lin was heading to the scorer's table. So Byron wanted to get him in, and he did get him in at that moment. Right at that point in time, I think Jeremy was actually going against Steve Blake, who was the backup point guard for the Blazers. Soon, Jeremy hit Carlos Boozer for a assist, which Carlos converted into a jump shot. So that was Jeremy's first positive play of the game. Then Jeremy missed a jump shot from the right side of the free throw line, just barely short in transition. It was right on line, but he just didn't quite get enough legs into it. And so that was his first attempt and first miss of the game. Then Jeremy had his only turnover of the game. He went to do the dribble where he stops and then he pivots around, and reserve center Myers Leonard poked the ball away from Jeremy. It wasn't a bad play by Jeremy. It's just be aware of who's around you and take your time and make sure you hold on to the ball strong, because if you stop, guys are going to be looking to jar the ball loose when you have it. So, but that was Jeremy's only turnover of the game. He had 3 assists, 3-to-1 assist to turnover ratio is terrific. So again, we're not gonna get too upset about that. Then Jeremy scored his first basket of the game. He shot a jump shot from the free throw line, extended out to the left. So it's a little bit to the left of the free throw line, hit the jump shot, and it was nice. Then I made a note again, and this is the not critical of Jeremy, but just more kind of wanting to see Jeremy hit his expectations as a player. I just said Jeremy must play harder and must be serious when he's playing. Now, this is a thing sometimes people talk about Jeremy. He's not competitive enough or whatever it is, right? And, somebody like, Patrick Beverley is so competitive. Ronnie Price is so tough and this type of thing. Jeremy his personality is not, he's competitive, but he's not like a nasty dude. He's not a guy with an edge or a chip on his shoulder all the time. So sometimes he just needs to kind of turn it up a little bit, turn up the volume on his aggressiveness. And that's going to help him become a better player and to be more consistent. And to kind of take that approach game in and game out. And that will help him to be able to get back to being a starter in the league and being able to do it, perform the way he wants consistently. And look, he's working on it. And different athletes, you can take some of the most talented athletes in any sport, and some of them, this is a thing for them. I remember David Robinson, of course, the Hall of Fame player for San Antonio Spurs, the center. Dave was a very religious guy. He's a very nice guy. He's a very smart guy. And a lot of times people would say that about him. He doesn't want it enough. He's not hungry enough. He's not nasty enough. So David had to work on figuring it out. He's not a guy that's going to go out there and curse at people and talk trash and stuff or play angry. That's not how he is. So he had to kind of figure out how do I kind of hit that level in terms of performance without doing it in ways that aren't who he is as a person. And we don't want Jeremy to be, we don't want Jeremy to not be someone he isn't, but he's got to figure out a way to kind of reach the proper level of intensity in a method that works for him, without having to be the swearing guy, the trash talking guy, and all that. So he just had to keep working on that, and I'm sure that he will. Okay, the end of the first quarter, Jeremy had 2 points and 1 assist, and again, he had his 1 turnover. That would be the only one for him in the game. Moving on to the second quarter, Jeremy had his second miss of the night. He had a nice move against the defender, and I can't remember who it was defending. It might have actually been Lillard, or I can't remember who it was at this moment. Might have been C.J. McCollum as well. Jeremy got down into the lane on the right side of the basket. He let the defender go by him. So Jeremy stopped on his drive. The defender kept moving, expecting Jeremy was going to continue to move. And then Jeremy had a shot at the basket. It was almost like a layup, except he had no momentum. So he had to kind of shoot a little jump shot, and it just went off the backboard as Jeremy intended, and then it just kind of went off the rim. So it was a nice play. He just wasn't able to finish it quite at the end. Now again, here's more of this kind of this critical stream of consciousness that I was having at this moment. Jeremy is still looking to understand and develop his own game. And I mean like all the little moves and his pet moves, what works, how he's going to approach the game in and game out. Now, of course, Jeremy knows that he's very good in pick and rolls, and he knows he's good in transition, and he knows he's good when he's attacking. Okay, so those are things that he has that game in and game out. Now, of course, it depends on what system and what coach he's playing for, if he's going to be able to do that more or less. But what I'm talking about is he does need to develop, he wants to continue to develop more offensive skill. So he wants to continue to work on his jump shot so it gets better and better. He wants to continue to work on his one-on-one moves. He wants to continue to refine his floaters and runners around the basket. And he still has to figure out the right balance between scoring and passing. Sometimes he's still looking to score a little bit too much when he could be looking to pass. And this is normal development. And again, it's been tougher for Jeremy because he didn't play much when he first came into the league. And then he was hurt in the year in New York. So basically his first 2 off seasons, the first off season, he didn't know what to work on because he didn't play, so he couldn't really test his skill level against competition. So if you don't do that, you don't know what you have to improve. His second off season, he had to do rehabilitation on his knee after the insanity in New York. So he's only had 2 summers to really work on his game. And he's clearly improving. I mean, we saw the massive improvement in his three-point shooting coming into his second year as a Houston Rocket. Now, it's the shot. He was very good at the start of that year, and then it kind of faded a little bit, although his overall three-point percentage went up. We saw a little bit of that at the start of this year. It's very good, kind of come down some. So he's still, as I've said many times, he's still working to perfect his shot, his long-range shooting. And it will take time. It will continue to get better. And I think the more time he stays with the same shooting motion, it will get better and better and better, which is going to take a couple time. I've mentioned Jason Kidd before, the Hall of Fame or 2B point guard. Jason couldn't shoot at all when he came into the league. He really couldn't shoot. from outside, and over time he became a very reliable 3-point shooter. So Jeremy's going to improve. He puts in the work to do it. It's just it's not quite there yet. So we just have to keep working on that. That same theory of not quite there yet applies to various aspects of his game. It applies to some of these offensive moves. It applies to his decision making. It applies to him and his entire game overall. He still doesn't quite, he's not quite what he's going to be. And so sometimes this causes him indecision, or he'll make choices that you think, it's like, why is he doing that? Because he's still trying to figure it out. So give him another, hopefully again, he maintains his health. Give him another year or two, and you're going to see a much more polished, steady player. And I'm sure of that. I'm 100% sure of that. Hopefully he'll be able to have stability in his situation if he stays with LA or goes somewhere else. And hopefully he'll be healthy. And then you will see continued improvement from him. But it's not there yet. And different people progress at different rates. There are still things that Jeremy absolutely must learn and see a little bit better as a point guard, particularly how important that position is. He'll get there. We all want him to be there right now, and he wants to be there right now, which is part of, I think, what he was talking about in his blog post, saying, yeah, I'm not going to try to avoid the trials of life. You know, just got to go through it. Step back, slow down, etc. And you just go through it, and pretty soon you'll be where you want to be. And Jeremy's on his way. So that was just my own little thought there watching him some. Because sometimes Jeremy has so much ability. You see him do things and stuff, and like I said, it's like, why is he doing that? Or he could have done this, or etc. But he's getting there. I really liked a lot of it. I'll talk about what Jeremy said after the game later. But you can tell he's calming down. He's kind of finding his way in LA and in his career overall. So that's good. Okay, again, still early in the second, Jeremy had a blown assist. He passed the ball to Nick Young. Nick missed a 3-point attempt from the right corner. Then Jeremy forced Steve Blake into a turnover, so that was a nice play. He was then fouled in transition by Myers Leonard. He kind of just ran right into Myers Leonard, and it was nice. Like I said, Jeremy's very good at drawing fouls, and he knows how to do it, even though there's a lot of foul calls he doesn't get, as we all know. He's good at that. That's a real skill that he has developed. He got 2 free throws. He made 1 out of 2. Then I put Nick Young second option as a note. Now, it was said earlier in the season by Byron, and it was kind of thought by some Lakers fans, that Nick could be the second scoring option to Kobe. And, of course, Nick was out at the beginning of the year with a thumb injury. And so when Nick was coming back, there was kind of like, okay, we need Nick. Nick's going to be the guy who's the steady second scoring option. Well, now Nick's been on an extended slump, and he began this game 0 of 5 shooting from the field. So it's like with Jeremy. People want Jeremy to be X, Y, and Z. Maybe he's not quite there yet. Well, with Nick, I don't know if Nick is at a level as a player at this time where he can be the second scoring option 9 in and 9 out, because he still relies on his jump shot a whole bunch. And if his jump shot's not going in, there's not a lot of other stuff that he does. So Nick's got work to do in the same way that Jeremy has work to do. And that's fine. That's typical. It's not just Jeremy. Okay. Then I put that, again, the Lakers were making a real attempt to try to run the offense properly. We talked about how good this was executed, or how well it was executed in the Orlando game, and they were trying to do the same thing here. It wasn't always successful, but they were working hard to do it, and that's the only way you're going to implement a new system. It will not be perfect when you first do it. You've got to work through it, and I thought that the Lakers were doing a good job of that here in the second quarter. Then I put the Tariq Black as a safety valve works well. A safety valve on offense is what you do or who you go to when the play you are running isn't working. So a lot of times Kobe's looked at as a safety valve. You can't get anything going, the 24-second clock's running down, you need something, so you pass the ball to Kobe, and he'll make a shot. While with Tariq Black, you just pass the ball inside. And because of Tariq's size and athleticism, he might be able to get a shot or get a dunk or make something happen where there isn't anything. So it's kind of nice having him around. And as I said, he's not going anywhere, in my opinion. He's going to be a Laker for a long time, the same way that I think Ed Davis is going to be a Laker for a long time. So finding those two and developing them is really going to be a good payoff for the Lakers for years to come. So it's very exciting to see. Okay, moving on into the second. Jeremy had a terrific pick and roll play with Carlos Boozer. And this is something I will talk about after the game, because Jeremy talked about the pick and roll playing with Carlos. Just a perfect play. Carlos came up, set the pick. Jeremy flared out, ran off the screen. Carlos cut to the hoop. Jeremy, perfect bounce pass, easy layup. And we've critiqued Carlos and other Lakers big men throughout the season as being pick and pop players, meaning a pop means to pop out, like away from the basket. Roll means you roll towards the basket. So Jeremy likes to play with pick and roll big men, whereas the Lakers were having a lot of pick and pop big men. Jordan Hill likes to hit a jump shot. Carlos Boozer likes to set up for a jump shot. Robert Sacre likes to set up for a jump shot. The exception has been Ed Davis, but now you have another exception in Tariq Black. Well, now Carlos Boozer is starting to go to the basket, and it's working. And this play is a perfect example of it, and it worked great. The truth is, if you have somebody that can do both, if you have a big man that is capable of both hitting the jump shot and going to the basket, then the defense doesn't know what to do because they don't know which way you're going to go with it. That's the ultimate thing to have. So if Carlos, who can hit jump shots, if Carlos now starts going to the basket, he's going to get a whole bunch of points because the defense is not going to know how to play him. And Jeremy will find him, whether it's on a jump shot or whether it's on a layup. So this is a really good development. This is good to see. Okay, then Jeremy drew another foul. He just ran right into Chris Kaman. And like I said, sometimes Jeremy won't get foul calls, and he doesn't deserve to get them. Now, many times he does deserve to get them, but he's so good at creating contact that sometimes the referee just won't call it. But in these instances, they were calling it. And like I said, he basically just ran into Kaman, and he got the foul called. It was great. He got right by Damian Lillard and hit into Chris Kaman. Got 2 free throws, made both of them. That put the Lakers up 35-33. At this point in time, Portland was running I think they might have been running like a 2-point guard set. They had Steve Blake and Damian Lillard on at the same time, and the Lakers matched up with it. They had Ronnie and Jeremy on at the same time. Okay, then Jeremy had his 3rd missed field goal of the game. He came off of a pick and roll. It was a really nice shot. It just went in and out. It was just slightly off. And that was from basically the left side of the free throw line, out, extended slightly. Okay. Then Jeremy had an assist that turned into a foul shot to Ed Davis. Passed the ball into Ed. Ed was going up for a layup or a dunk, and Ed was fouled and got free throws off of that. So, again, that doesn't technically count as an assist, but it is one. Then I put that Ronnie and Jeremy can play well on the court together, the same way that we saw Jeremy being able to do that with Patrick Beverley in Houston. And that's because Jeremy can play point guard or he can play shooting guard. He's got scoring ability, and he's big enough to guard most shooting guards. There are some exceptions, but most guys he can guard because he's big and strong enough. And so it's good to see Byron figuring this out. Now, maybe Byron only did it because Portland did it. You know, they had Blake and Lillard on at the same time, and maybe Byron was just matching up. But hopefully Byron's learning from that. Look, use these guys at the same time because it works. They can do it. And to be fair to Byron, he has done it a little bit more recently. So hopefully he'll keep going with that. It certainly worked in Houston. And basically what it is you want your best players on the court. So if you think Byron, if you think Ronnie and Jeremy are like two of your top 7 or 8 players, get them on the court, even if they need to be on the court at the same time, because it'll pay off for you. And that's what Byron was doing here. And it's good to see. Then another one of these semi-critical things about Jeremy. I just said Jeremy needs to just tighten up his game 1 to 2 levels, and then he'll be all set. Again, this is going to happen. He will find more and more as he continues to expand his offensive game, and he continues to figure out how much energy he can expend on defense and still be good on offense. Once these things get more clear to him, once he gets a couple more offensive moves and he figures out which ones work better than others, then you will see that. And I think he will continue to refine his decision making as well. So you'll get fewer turnovers. So this is going to happen. This is going to happen. It's just going to, again, we're still in the development phase right now. This is why Byron and Kobe and others still talk about Jeremy as a young player and inexperienced. He is. So just hang in there. Once he puts it all together, it's going to be pretty awesome. Just we're still on that journey. So we'll just, again, take it where it is. Okay. Then Ronnie and Jeremy were kind of taking turns against Steve Blake and Damian Lillard. Now, that might have been by design. It probably was because of just switches on defense. That's kind of how the play went. So they were kind of getting different opportunities against one of them and then the other. Okay. Jeremy came out of the game. I don't have a time marked down. It was midway through the second still, maybe like 5 minutes left or something. And you could see him then talking with Carlos Boozer on the bench. And it's good. You know, these guys are discussing what's going on in the game, what do they see, what are the adjustments, and so on. And that's good. There is camaraderie. There is chemistry between Boozer and Lin and Young. So I understand why Byron wants to keep those guys together at some parts, because they have built up some rapport. And there is something to that. Now, again, I don't know if that's a reason why you keep a guy on the bench rather than as a starter, but there is a point there. Okay, and then I put that Jeremy must get assist in Byron's offense, which is to say Byron wants his point guards to play defense and pass the ball. Doesn't mean he doesn't want them to score at all, but he wants his point guards to move the ball and look for assist. So, look, it was said that Byron wanted Ronnie on the team, and in some ways, Ronnie's what he wants. Ronnie's not a guy that's going to score a ton of points. He can here and there, and he can get hot, as he's been lately on jump shots. But basically, Ronnie's going to move the ball, pass the ball, look for passes, and focus a lot of attention on defense. And that's what Byron wants. So Jeremy has to kind of be that as much as he can be in order to get playing time for Byron. And again, other coaches are not like that. Mike D'Antoni is not like that. I mean, he wants you to play defense, but he's more focused on offense. So you just have to adapt to whatever the coaching figure is at the moment. Okay. Late in the second, moving on, Ronnie was having a difficult time now against Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard hit a catch-and-shoot right three-pointer from the right corner, and I just put powerless. And I mentioned this in the last Portland game video. Damian is a big guard. I think he's at least 6'3". And as I said before, he gets so much elevation on his jump shot. He's just way above you, unless you got right there with him to jump with him, that you can't do anything. It's basically like, he's either going to make it or he's going to miss it, regardless of whatever you do, because he's up there and you're down here. And it's like I said, he's an awesome player, and he's getting better and better and better. And I mentioned on Twitter, I thought this past summer, I thought that Kyrie Irving was better than Damian Lillard, but I don't think that anymore. Damian is just becoming like his own force of nature. And it's pretty impressive to watch. He's a heck of a player. And by all accounts, he seems like a good guy. So I'm happy for him. But like I said, in these instances, you can't do anything. You just got to watch and you hope he misses it, basically. And that's what happened to Ronnie on that instance. Okay. Then Damian missed a catch-and-shoot three-pointer in transition. But again, it's like, Ronnie did what he could on the play, but Damian just missed it. But again, Ronnie was down on the ground and Damian's way up. And it's just, is he going to hit it or not? Okay. Then made another note, bench greater than the starters again. So we've seen this time after time this season, particularly since Byron has changed the starting lineup to include Ed Davis and Ronnie Price. The starters are being outperformed by their own bench, and they are also being fairly consistently outperformed by the opposition starters. Now, as we've said previously, if your bench is consistently good and they do better than the other team's bench consistently, well, then it can work. In other words, okay, maybe your starters aren't that good, but your bench is always good, and so you win games. Well, then it kind of works. Maybe you don't need to change your starting lineup any. But, of course, the argument against it is, well, your starters keep getting the team in the deficits constantly, so maybe you want to change that. But it's as I said, look, Byron's trying to figure this all out. You know how I feel about Byron. I don't think Byron's a great strategic coach. Byron's like an old school coach. Disciplinarian. You mess up and you're going to run 10 laps. Effort. Motivation. He's good at getting effort. He's good at motivating guys. He'll fire you up. Talk about Laker pride. Again, if you mess up, you're going to run laps, this type of thing. And that's good. I mean, there's a usefulness in that. But when it comes to kind of tactics and rotations and schemes, I don't think Byron's great at that. So in other words, he can only do those other things. And then he kind of hits the ceiling on what he is as a coach, at least from what I can tell. And look, Kobe wanted him. That's clear. Maybe maybe he's around while Kobe's around. And then I think the team will eventually move on from him. So to be fair to Byron, the team is playing better defense now, which is what he wanted. And he's learning a bunch of new guys. So he's got to learn all these guys. And he doesn't know them. He's just starting with the team, so he's trying to figure out everything. So he's in an adjustment period as well, as everybody new on the team is also. So just to be fair for him. Okay, then Ronnie had another difficult moment on defense against Damian Lillard. Damian had a screen set for him, and he just went. Ronnie got caught up in the screen, so Damian got basically a full running start against the help defense, and Damian then scored on a reverse layup around Jordan Hill. And I just put Damian Lillard is a machine on offense now, and he is. So I said, what I said earlier about Jeremy figuring out his game, Damian has figured out his game. And Damian wasn't this good last year. He was good, but not this good. So in other words, Damian is really starting to completely understand what he can do, when to do it, how to do it, etc. Now, again, Damian's been on the same team with most of the same teammates for the last 3 or 4 years, however long he's been in the league. So that helps a lot. Jeremy has not been in that circumstance. And that's why stability is important. But you can definitely see it with Damian. He's just going to a whole different level. I'm not saying Jeremy's going to be Damian Lillard because he isn't going to be that. But they're different players. They're different types of players. But that same development and maturity and understanding that Damian has now, that's what Jeremy can get. Another example is Kyle Lowry in Toronto. We know he didn't get along great with McHale in Houston. And it took Kyle years and years to figure out his game. Now he knows it. That's what Jeremy can look forward to. What Damian Lillard's showing, what Kyle Lowry is showing this year. He will get to that point in his way for his game. He's just still working to get there. And I said, let's just hang in there and keep watching it as it unfolds. Okay. Jeremy then came back into the game late in the second. He came in for defense because I think Portland went back to this Steve Blake and Damian Lillard set. And so Byron wanted to match up with it. And so that was good. We haven't seen Byron put Jeremy in a whole bunch of times for defense. So it was kind of nice to see that happen. Excuse me. Then this was like the last play of the quarter, essentially, last play of the half. And I think Portland had taken a timeout and they set up a play that they wanted to do, which is common for NBA coaches. After the play, Ronnie fouled Damian Lillard, quickly. In other words, maybe there were 10 seconds left in the quarter, and Portland inbounded the ball, and Ronnie fouled Damian maybe 3 seconds after he got the ball. The reason why this is done is it's called a foul to give. And I'm explaining this for people that are newer to basketball, which we have many listeners that and viewers that are. A foul to give means your team is not yet in the penalty. And the penalty is when I believe it's 5 fouls per quarter. And once you exceed that, then every time you foul after that, the opposition gets free throws. Now, if you're going to make a shot and you get fouled, you get free throws automatically. But when you're fouled dribbling, you don't get free throws automatically until the opponent is in the penalty. So when you have a foul to give, that means you are not yet in the penalty. And you can therefore take a foul without giving the opponent free throws. And so the reason why you use it in that situation is you want to disrupt what the opponent is doing. So if they set up a play and they have 10 seconds left in the half, you'll take a foul 3 or 4 seconds in because now they only have 6 seconds left in the half. And maybe you got to see what they were going to do. Maybe you got an idea of what they were going to run. And that's why this is done. So when you see guys doing this, and if you're new to the sport and you're like, why are they doing that? That's the reason why they're doing it. It's basically it's a way to run down the clock and possibly get a look at what the opponent is doing. And hopefully it disrupts what the opponent is going to do. Okay, so then we got back in and Portland executed a perfect play. And Ronnie got torched on this play twice. Damian Lillard received the inbounds pass on the left side of the court. He drove around Ronnie towards the rim. So he drove around Ronnie on the perimeter and was running right down the middle of the lane. Jeremy, who had been guarding Steve Blake, rotated off of Steve Blake. So he left Steve Blake to stop Damian Lillard. Because if not, Damian Lillard's going up for a dunk. So Jeremy comes to meet Damian Lillard in the lane. And that means Steve Blake is wide open. And that's what the play was designed to do. Damian Lillard saw Steve Blake wide open, threw the ball to him, and Ronnie realized what the play was. But he was too late. So he's running towards Steve Blake, but Steve Blake just goes up, hits a three-point shot from the left corner. The reason why, and it was a great play, by the way, the reason why I said that Ronnie got burned twice there is because, first of all, Damian drove by him. That's number one. And then he didn't get to Steve Blake quick enough. That's number two. So, look, you can't do everything. I mean, a good offense will beat good defense. The play was designed very well, and they knew exactly what the Lakers were going to do. They were confident that Damian Lillard could get around Ronnie by himself without a screen, which is exactly what happened, I believe. And Portland was one step ahead of the Lakers on the play, and they got the three-pointer, and that gave them a 5-point lead heading into the third quarter. At this point in the game, Jeremy had 7 points and 2 assists at the half. Okay, we started out on the third quarter, and Ronnie was again doing pretty good against Damian Lillard. He was really harassing Damian, kind of poking at him, being aggressive, which is what you want to do as a defender. You want to make the offensive player uncomfortable. In other words, you want to almost be, you're bringing the game to them instead of they're bringing it to you. Some defenders, when you're too passive, you're waiting for the offensive player to make a move. Good, tough defense is you're being aggressive against the offensive player. They're reacting to you rather than making you react to them. And that's what Ronnie was doing here. And look, it's good. That's what Byron wants. And it's definitely something that Jeremy can do more and more of. Pressure. Get up on them. Put your hands out. We see the Patrick Beverley waving the arms and flailing. A lot of it's nonsense, but take it to the offensive player. You be the initiator rather than waiting for them to initiate. And that's something that Jeremy can keep working on. Look, Jeremy knows how to do it, and he's done it many times before. It's just, again, it's a matter of concentration and repetition, doing it game in and game out. And doing it when you're the starter and being able to do it and having the energy to do that and play offense. So that's, again, this is things that Jeremy's working on. Okay, then I put Ronnie is doing much better on against Damian Lillard now. I mean, again, Damian torched him at the end of the second quarter. But Damian was playing possum which is an American expression, or it's an English expression anyway. Basically means, possums is an animal, and they'll play like they're dead when they're not, so that the people or the other predators will leave them alone. And then when the predator goes away, the possum does whatever, just goes about its business. What Damian was doing at this point in time was he wasn't trying a lot on offense. He was saving his energy for later in the game. And this is what I'm telling you, like what Jeremy has to learn. When do you exert your energy and when do you lay back? And of course, that has to do with your teammates. You must know them and when they're going to exert. And you must understand how much energy you have so that you know how much can you put on defense, how much can you put on offense, when will you feel fresh, when will you be a little tired. And so, again, the reason why Portland is so good, one of the reasons, is that they've had good continuity. They haven't had a lot of roster changes the last few years. They've kind of grown together, and so everybody knows everybody else and all their tendencies. Of course, the Lakers are the opposite of that. It's not just a talent thing. It's also a chemistry and an understanding thing. And Portland has that. And that helps tremendously. It's like the Spurs. Spurs hardly ever, they don't change the roster much. Well, then you over years, that really gives you an advantage over opponents. So for Jeremy himself, he hasn't had much of that. And that's affected his development, which is one of the reasons why we wanted him to have more stability wherever he ends up, whether he stays in LA or goes somewhere else. Okay. Then Damian made a move against Ronnie. He got by Ronnie, but he was blocked at the rim. At the help defense helped him out, but he kind of chose to attack Ronnie in that moment. Then Damian had another great play. I don't know, I call this a circle route, but that's much more of an American football term. Damian went from left to right. He ran from the left side of the court under the basket and then coming all the way back, running to his right. Basically ended up almost in the same spot. The point of this maneuver is to lose your defender. And what usually happens on the play is that the team on offense will set multiple screens so that they try to slow your defender even further. So what happened was Nicholas Batum had the ball at about 10 degrees right of the top of the arc on the three-point line. Damian Lillard came running around under the basket, ran around the lane again, so it's almost a full circle here, and then Nicholas Batum threw him an alley-oop for a huge dunk. I mean, it was a very athletic play by Damian to catch the ball and finish it. I mean, it's like I said, Damian's tall, he's got excellent jumping ability, and he's got long arms. So he went up, he caught the ball, dunked it through. I don't even know where Ronnie was on the play because he probably got lost a little bit on the screens. And it was a great play. It wasn't a perfect pass at all, but it just shows you what Damian Lillard is capable of doing. And it's pretty impressive. They're going to be difficult to beat with everything that he's able to do. And then you throw in LaMarcus Aldridge and others, and they're going to be a hard team to beat. You can see why they're way up there in the league right now. Okay, then moving on to the middle of the third, Ronnie had a nice pass to Ed Davis for a layup, and at this point in the game, Ronnie had 9 assists and only 1 turnover. Like I said, I mean, first of all, that's a fantastic assist-turnover ratio. You can't really realistically do better than that. And this is what Byron Scott wants. This is what he wants from his point guard. And this is what Ronnie was doing. And then I made the note that said, Ronnie is Patrick Beverley, but a Beverley who can dish. In other words, Patrick is a spot-up shooter who's okay. But he's not an offensive guy, and he's not a playmaker. He's not a guy that's going to dish out a bunch of assists. He's in there to play defense and hopefully hit some spot-up three-pointers. Ronnie is also a defensively oriented guy, but instead of being a designated spot-up shooter, he's more of a designated passer. That's kind of the twist on him versus Beverly. But they're similar players. Patrick's better than Ronnie Price is. But again, this is, Mikhail wanted Beverly. That's what he wants. And that's what fits with James Harden. Ronnie fits with Kobe. And Ronnie is what Byron Scott wants. Ronnie fits with Kobe, of course, much in a similar way that Patrick fits with James Harden, because both of them will give the ball to the shooting guard and let the shooting guard play point guard. And that's why they fit more so than Jeremy would or does. Look, if Jeremy was a 40% three-point shooter, then he'd fit great with Kobe, because then Jeremy could just go sit in the corner or sit on the line, and he'd get the ball every single time he's open, and he'd hit shots. That's why we want Jeremy to continue to work on his three-point shooting, because he's getting wide open looks. And he's not always getting the ball. And the more he hits shots, the more he's going to get the ball. And the more comfortable he's going to feel that he knows he can hit it anytime he's open. That's one of the reasons why you could play Steve Nash as a starter with Kobe, even though Steve Nash is 40 years old, because Steve will hit three-point shots at a very high rate. And that might have been part of the thinking for Byron, honestly, with letting Steve start. Sure, Steve can still make plays, but the main thing is Kobe can dribble the ball, and Steve can just sit out in the three-point line and hit shots. So that could have been part of the thinking. Okay, then Then I made a note that says, like Patrick Beverly, Ronnie Price looks good on defense, but it's not translating to stops. Meaning, part of the knock on Beverly from Lynn fans is it looks like he's putting so much effort, he's moving around, and he's so active, but it doesn't mean he's actually stopping the opponent. Whereas Jeremy doesn't do that. Jeremy doesn't put a lot of effort into looking like he's hustling. He just hustles when he hustles. So that's kind of what's happening with Ronnie here. Ronnie was doing all kinds of stuff and moving around and all against Damian, but it wasn't doing anything. So, okay. Then Ronnie had another difficult moment against Damian. Damian drove to his right, and Ronnie was right on him. Like, Ronnie guarded him well the entire play, but Damian was still able to get a layup off of the right backboard against him because Ronnie's not tall enough to really guard him and slow him down on like a layup play. Ronnie's shorter than Damian, shorter than Jeremy. Ronnie's maybe like 6 foot, 6'1". He's a good jumper. I mean, you've seen him jump and do dunks and stuff, but he's not going to out-jump Damian Lillard. And I don't know if he's got the same jumping ability to block that Jeremy does. Jeremy's good at getting up to block shots. Ronnie might have a higher vertical than Jeremy does, like for dunking, but I don't think it's the same thing for blocking shots. And so Damian was able to take Ronnie to the basket. Ronnie was on him, but he just shot over. So that's what happened on that play. Then, moving on to late in the third, Ronnie then had a nice pass to Carlos Boozer for an and one layup, I believe it was, or an and one jumper. I think it was a layup. And at that point, Ronnie had 10 assists and 1 turnover. So, look, Ronnie was funny here because Ronnie was playing a kind of the opposite of what's expected of him, which is his defense wasn't doing a whole bunch, but his offense was pretty good. His offense was actually helping him be competitive against Lillard, even though his defense wasn't. So it's kind of like not what you would expect. Okay. Then still late in the third, Jeremy came into the game. I don't have it marked down exactly when. I think it was like 2 minutes, and it was 2 minutes and 39 seconds left or so. He came into the game with Ryan Kelly. I think he replaced Ronnie Price, did Jeremy. Then he passed the ball to Tarek Black, and I missed the play. I think Tarek fumbled the ball out of bounds, and I saw Tarek running back saying to Jeremy, my fault. So I think Jeremy got him a nice pass, but Tarek just wasn't able to kind of hold on to it. I thought they were going to charge the turnover to Jeremy, but they did not. They charged it to Tarek. So my guess is that Tarek must have had control for a second, and then he lost control of it. But it's a good setup apparently by Jeremy. Then Nick missed another jump shot, which made him 1 for 7 on the night at that point in time. And then after that, Nick got a turnover on a traveling violation. So the Lakers were working hard here to help Nick out. They were trying to get him opportunities and get him shots. And that's good. I mean, Jeremy talked about it after the game and said, yeah, we're trying to help Nick out. That's good. I mean, that's a good teammate. A lot of guys, they won't do that. Okay, you're not hitting shots. I'm going to take shots. But if you're trying to build consistency and chemistry as a unit, then everybody needs to play their role. If Nick is kind of like your designated shooter, then try to help him make shots, even if he's missing shots. And that's what they were doing, the second unit was doing. And that's good to see. That's really important. It's good leadership by Jeremy, and you have to trust your guys. So if Jeremy and Nick and Carlos are on the second unit and they have good chemistry, then when your guy's down, you try to pick him up. And that's what they basically were doing here with Nick. Okay, we're going to keep going to you. We're going to keep going to you. We know you're going to break out of it, so just keep shooting. Okay. Then Jeremy had a missed shot, his fourth of the game. This was one of those 2-for-1 situations, meaning that there's maybe 10 seconds or so more than the 24-second clock left in the quarter. So maybe there's like 35 seconds left. You want to get 2 possessions. So you come down and you shoot the ball quickly so that there's more than 24 seconds left and you will get the ball back. Jeremy came down, saw the shot clock and game clock. He took a quick shot. He just missed it. It was just slightly short. But then it was, okay, Lakers are going to get the ball back. They did. And Jeremy had a blown assist. He passed the ball to Nick Young for a wide open three-pointer from the right corner, but Nick missed the shot. After 3 quarters, as I mentioned earlier, the Portland was up 3 points, 72-69. Jeremy at this point in the game had 7 points, 2 assists, and he was 2 of 6 shooting from the field. Okay, moving on to the fourth and final quarter. They put up a graphic that showed that the Portland Trailblazers were 19-0 on the season when they led after 3 quarters, and that was about to become 20-0, as we know. Then Nick missed another shot. This was a shot that I thought he probably should not have taken. Nick drove into the paint area or towards the paint. I don't think he actually got to the paint. About a 45-degree angle. He was double teamed, he went into the help defender. He didn't have a clear shot at all. This is like something you might see Kobe doing. Jeremy Lin was standing about 45 degrees left of the top of the arc, waving his hands that he was wide open. And he was wide open. Nick Young had at least 2 guys guarding him, maybe 3. And he forced a shot, and he missed it. He did get fouled, though, so that was a little bit of a bailout, like the referees bailed him out, basically. That's the expression. They helped him out on what wasn't a good play. But Nick should have passed the ball to Jeremy there. And as I said earlier, the more consistent and good Jeremy gets in his shooting, the more he will get the ball in those situations. Because guys will say, look, I got to pass it to the guy that shoots 40% from three-point range. And they will pass it to him. Or most guys will. Every now and then, Kobe and Nick, they won't pass it to you, even if they should. But you're going to get the ball more if you're a steady and shooter. Look, Jeremy's shooting well from three this year. I ain't shooting like 37%. That's good. That's enough to qualify you as a shooter. We know, though, as being his fans and watching him game in and game out, he still needs to get it a little more consistent. He's getting there, though. It is improving. He started great, had a little dip. Now it's coming back again. So just keep going. The more he does it over time, over the years, the better it will get. Okay. Then Portland took the lead. They were up 75 to 73 with 10 minutes and 11 seconds left. I think Portland took a timeout then. Maybe it was like they couldn't get the ball in bounds. And I'm going to note that says, this is how Byron Scott wants to play. This was a relatively low-scoring game at this point, or pretty much. For the Lakers, it is. In terms of their defense giving up points, this was a pretty lower-scoring game, and is at a little bit of a slower pace. That's what Byron wants. Again, that is his style of basketball. Play defense, rebound the ball, give yourself a chance late in the game by slowing things down a little bit. That's the way he wants to play, which means he's probably going to stay with the lineup and Ronnie because this is what he wants. And for Jeremy, just play your role. I mean, excel in your role. You can't control what Byron's going to do. So you get good chemistry with the second unit, which is what he's doing. You guys go out there and keep outperforming the starters, which is what they've been doing for most of the time Jeremy's been on the bench. So just keep doing it, and your time will come. Whether you stay with the Lakers or you go to another team, just to do what you can now. Then Jeremy had his third assist of the game. He passed the ball to Nick Young for a layup. It was a nice play. Then I put a blown assist again to Nick Young for a missed three-pointer. So Jeremy had numerous blown assists in this game, a number of them to Nick Young. If Nick was hitting his shot, Jeremy might have ended up with, 7, 8 assists. But that's just not the case. But again, Jeremy was showing good leadership by continuing to go to Nick because that's the role they need Nick to play. So you execute the role even if the person isn't performing it well in a particular game. Okay. Then, now Damian Lillard was coming back into the game. This was 8 minutes and 56 seconds left. And now it was going to be Damian time, and everybody knew it. It was only a matter of when was he going to take over, or when was he going to try to take over. Okay. Then Carlos Boozer was shooting free throws, and Jeremy at this point was talking to whoever the other guard was on the court at that time. It was either Nick or Wayne Ellington, I believe. And so they're kind of strategizing, probably thinking, look, what are we going to do with Damian? How are we going to play him? Whatever. So he was talking there. Then Jeremy had a good contest on a Damian Lillard three-pointer. Damian took the shot from about 40 degrees left of the top of the arc. Again, he's way up there, and Jeremy was way down here. But Jeremy did get his hand up and kind of get into Damian's space. A little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. And Damian missed the shot. So that's all you can hope for. That's all you can do in those situations. Then Jeremy, right after that play, or very soon thereafter, he had a nice steal. He stole the ball. The pass was trying to get to Lillard. I don't know who passed it to him. Might have been Kaman. Trying to get the ball to Lillard. Jeremy saw it and he intercepted it, I believe. Then Jeremy, right after that play, so he got the ball and he's going racing up the court against Damian Lillard. He had a terrific, he stepped around Lillard, almost like a Euro step type of a thing, which again, that's a move an offensive player makes to avoid the defender. on a layup attempt and kind of clear space. It's almost like a matador with the cape, avoiding, and then you kind of fake out the bull. You're just kind of clearing him away and letting the bull go by you. And he went up for a lefty layup. It was a great move off of the steal, and he just barely missed it off of the backboard. It was just a terrific play. It was, Jeremy was engaged fully right now. He was engaged in defending Lillard, and he was engaged in, I'm going to make Lillard work, which is one of the ways that you slow down a good offensive player is you make them work on defense. Because as we talked about earlier, you only have so much energy as a player. So if they're spending more energy on defense, that means they have less left for offense. I think Jeremy had it in his head he was going to do some of that, and that's what he was doing there. And it's good. I mean, that's what you got to do. Okay. Then Jeremy got switched on. I think he was guarding Lillard, but Portland ran a play, maybe a pick and roll, and Jeremy ended up guarding somebody else. I think it might have been Wes Matthews. So Damian was being guarded by someone else. Might have been Wayne Ellington. I don't remember. And Damian hit a three-pointer against that player. So at that point, Ronnie Price got off the bench. And it's kind of like, okay, here we go. Remember, last game we didn't have Ronnie. Damian did well, so now we're going to bring in Ronnie and see if we can kind of alter the outcome here. Also at this point in time, Steve Blake and Damian Lillard were in the game. So they were again playing the two-point guard alignment. And I think actually what Byron wanted to do was to get Ronnie in to play him with Jeremy, which is what ended up happening. The reason why, look, there's different reasons why you can play this two-point guard type of a thing. The reason why Portland was doing it, I'm sure of it, playing point guard means you've got to bring the ball up. You've got to dribble and avoid the defense, and it's draining. And so what they want to do with Damian is they just want him to score. And so let Steve Blake play point guard, let him dribble the ball up, and then just get the ball to Damian to score. And I mean, if I had Damian Lillard, I'd probably do that too. And it worked well, and it was going to work really well going forward in the game. Okay. Then 84-76 Portland. LA took a timeout because Damian was starting to get hot. 7 minutes and 46 seconds left in the game. When the timeout ended, Ronnie was in the game, and so was Jeremy. So that was the setup right there. I think Wayne Ellington came out of the game, I believe. Okay. Then Jeremy had his sixth and final miss of the game. He took a jump shot from a little bit extended out from the left part of the free throw line. Then I put Ronnie tough defense because, this is one of the times where they actually did set a screen, Portland did, against Ronnie. They don't do that a lot, apparently, when Damian is being guarded by Ronnie, because I guess they don't think they need to do it. You don't set a screen on a guy unless you need to do it. Or sometimes you will set a screen because you want the action. You want a pick and roll movement because you think you have an advantage. A lot of times when a guard gets a screen, it's because the guard needs the screen to get around the defender. That's what we said earlier. Damian said he needs a screen to get around Jeremy, but I guess he doesn't feel he needs a screen to get around Ronnie. I don't think he said that. So, but in this instance, they did run a screen for him. He got around. He went over the screen. Ronnie got through the screen pretty good. Ronnie sometimes gets a little hung up on the screens, but he did not on this play. But Damian got what he wanted. Basically, Ronnie ran into him. Damian hit the shot, and he was fouled by Ronnie, so he got the free throw as well, which he made. And then I put, here we go again with Damian Lillard, which is exactly what was going on the last game. At this point in time, Portland was on a 12-1 run, and they were now up 87-76. Then, and this goes to what I said earlier, the strategy. Make the opponent play defense to try to slow him down. So Jeremy was going at Damian, trying to get points against him to force him to play defense. And now Ronnie, I think, was doing a little bit of that. So Ronnie put up a three-pointer, which was way off. But again, I understand the thinking there. Then Damian came down and he passed the ball off to LaMarcus Aldridge for a jump shot. I put no Ronnie Price resistance. No, there was no pressure on the ball at all on that instance. So, the Damian Lillard show was continuing, whether it was passing or scoring, and in that instance, it was passing. Then I put Jeremy scored. He scored, I think, his last basket of the game. He got a reverse layup in transition against Nicholas Batum. It was a very nice play, really athletic play. That cut the score to 89-78 Portland. Portland was up 11 at that time. Then there was a mistake made. It was an honest mistake. Jeremy and one of the Lakers big men went up to get a defensive rebound. They both went up for it at the same time, and it got knocked out of bounds. It got knocked to a Portland player, and then Portland hit a three-point shot. Now, I don't know if that didn't make Byron Scott happy or if he was already thinking about it, but soon after, Jeremy was about to come out of the game for Wayne Ellington. So I don't know if that play had anything to do with it or just Byron didn't like what he was seeing or what. I'm not sure. It's possible, too. Steve Blake was coming out of the game, so it was a matchup thing. I'm not certain. Okay, then I put Ronnie trying to score now. He's really trying to score and go and get back versus Damian. But again, this might have been part of the strategy. Make Damian work. Ronnie went to the basket, was fouled, and he hit one of two free throws. Then with 5 minutes and 30 seconds left, or thereabouts, that's not an exact time, Jeremy did come out of the game for Wayne Ellington. Then Damian went right by Ronnie Price, but he missed a layup at the rim. Then I put a note that says Ronnie is trying to harass Damian, so that's good. Then Ronnie came down. He missed a three-pointer again, so he was trying to generate some offense there, but it wasn't working out well. Then I put Damian he's passing. So it's like I said, he's trying to make you guess. When is he going to go to shoot? When is he going to pass? So earlier in the quarter, he was shooting some. Then he passed. Then he scored again. Now he's passing some more. So you don't know what he's going to do. And it keeps you off balance. Then going into the final few minutes of the game, it just went, is totally the Damian Lillard show. Just crazy, super Damian. Ronnie came down after Damian had passed the ball for an assist. That made the score 97-84 for Portland, I believe. Yeah. Then Ronnie came down. He tried to go to the basket. He knocked the ball off of his leg. So that was a turnover. Then I put, now Portland is kind of going away from Damian a little bit. Like now that's in the playing possum mode with Damian. And that kind of let the Lakers catch up a little bit. That let them get back the score down to like 97-90. So they scored like 6 points in a row. Then after that happened, then Portland was like, okay, we're completely going to go to Damian Lillard like every single time now and see if you can stop it. And that's what they did. Damian got the ball, went right to the basket, fouled, made one, missed another. And then, let's see here. I made the score 98-90 for the Blazers. Then Wayne Ellington was fouled. He hit 2 free throws. And then Damian had that incredible super play where he went right by Ronnie Price with no screen, no pick was set for him. He drove to the right side of Ronnie Price, went right by and around and through Jordan Hill and Ed Davis for a dunk, and he was fouled. So it's just this was like a minute and 5 seconds left. Just an incredible play. Like I said, one of the best plays I've seen all year. It just jumped pretty good distance, got the dunk, got the foul, and made the free throw afterwards. That made the score 101-92, I think, for the Portland. And then Ronnie had another turnover right after that. So Ronnie had 2 turnovers in a very short period of time here. And I just put Ronnie's mind is gone. What I mean by that is Damian rattled him. He's trying to stay up with him, trying to play defense, trying to match him on the offensive end, and it just wasn't working. And it was kind of like now he was starting to kind of melt down a little bit, was Ronnie. And Ronnie and Damian are close. I think Ronnie was a mentor for Damian in Portland, I believe, a couple of years ago. So it's nothing personal here. It's just, Damian's trying to do his thing, and, it's very difficult to keep up with him, which is what Ronnie was figuring out right now, if he didn't know it before. Then Damian had the ball again. He basically just was on the right side of the court, and he went right up and shot a jump shot right over Ronnie, and he nailed it. So he's just rolling now. And then I put Ronnie is afraid to shoot, and that hurts the team. So now Ronnie came down, and he'd had a couple turnovers, and he would try to be aggressive, but now he passed up a wide open shot. Damian was playing off of him, daring him to shoot, is what it looked like, on the right free throw line area. And he didn't take it. And so that kind of slowed the team down, because if you're an offensive player and you get a chance to shoot, like if they leave you wide open, you got to shoot. Because if you don't shoot, it messes up the offense. So I was kind of like, Ronnie should have shot there. But whatever. I mean, this game was almost over, but this is a problem with Ronnie sometimes. Sometimes he can be an offensive liability. And so it's difficult to have him out there in that instance. Then Damian hit just a super deep three-pointer. He got switched out. One of the Lakers' big men got switched onto him. I don't know how. But Damian was literally about 4 or 5 feet behind the three-point line, and he just raised up and drilled it. And it's, like I said, it just became super, super Lillard. In the last minute and 30 seconds of this game, Damian Lillard scored like 9 points. So it was just Lillard, and just blew away basically the Lakers. They couldn't deal with it. They couldn't stay with it. They couldn't answer it. They couldn't do anything. And so it's basically that was it. That was a Damian Lillard show. And Ronnie and Damian shook hands kind of as the seconds were winding down, and Portland was just running out the clock. They said, we got to see tonight what would have happened up in Portland had the team been able to play Ronnie in the last 15 minutes or so of the game. And the answer was nothing. Wouldn't have been any different. It might have actually been a little bit worse, because Damian did even a slight bit better tonight than he did the other night when Jeremy was guarding him. What you have to understand, it's not just defense. If you think Ronnie's a better defender, okay, so you can put him out there and put on against Lillard. But it's also, what does your man do on offense? In other words, it's offense subtracted by defense. How many points do you get or generate versus how many does the man you're guarding generate? So you might hold your man down to a pretty good amount, but if you don't get anything, you're still losing. Or if you think Jeremy's an offensive player, not a defensive player, he might give up a bunch of points, but then he might generate a lot of points. So if he generates 15 points and gives up 12, he's still plus 3. Whereas if somebody like Ronnie might be, he only gives up 7, but he generates 2. So that's a -5. And so all of that has to be considered. And some of these defensive-oriented coaches, they don't think about it like that. They're focusing on the defense. You can focus to the defense so much that you don't have any offense, which is something, again, that has been affecting the Lakers starters. Yes, you are getting better defense, but your starters are being consistently outplayed, and you're not scoring enough. And that comes down to philosophy. This is how Byron wants to play. This is what he wants in a game. This is what he's looking for. D'Antoni might want a score that looks something like 120 to 118. Byron Scott wants something that looks more like 100 to 98. And so Jeremy is, he's caught in that. He's caught with coaches that have that philosophy. I'm not saying it's a bad philosophy. I mean, you have to play defense to win, but you also have to score to win. So it's, Jeremy's played for 2 coaches now in a row that are more defensively oriented. And look, in the long term, it's going to help Jeremy. You've had to compete with Patrick Beverley. You've had to compete with Ronnie Price. That's going to help Jeremy in the long run, because Jeremy is very good on offense overall. He needs to continue to work on his defense, even though, as he said earlier in his career, that's what he focused on. This will help him. It's just that right now he doesn't get to be super Jeremy because he's playing with a coach that's values the qualities, or what he thinks are the qualities of Ronnie Price more than Jeremy. So, but like I said, just for Jeremy, just keep working on your thing, your role, your skills, and then your time will come. So that's how the game ended. And then after the game, as I said, I think Ronnie was discussing how he thought the mask that he's wearing to protect his broken nose was bothering him. So he mentioned that. Jeremy stuck up for Nick Young after the game. I think following the Orlando game, Byron was saying, hey, look, Nick might want to get in the gym a little bit more and work on his shot. Like, hey, again, the tough love old school. You got to get in there and work more. But I guess Jeremy was asked about Nick Young, and I think Jeremy said, look, Nick's working hard. He's working on his shot. To which I think Byron later said, yeah, he's working on it, but he's not working on it the right way. Like, he's not practicing it properly. So you got to focus more. So, like I said, old school coaches, or the gritty type coaches, the way that they look at things is the solution is to work harder and to be tough. And you messed up, so you're going to run laps, and I'm going to discipline you. This is like the Pat Riley school. This is where Byron Scott was coached by Pat Riley, and this is who he's kind of taken his coaching style from. Pat's a disciplinarian. Pat's a fitness freak and all this. So this is the way Byron thinks. Nick's missing shots, so Nick needs to work harder. And that's the solution. And again, but Jeremy's saying, well, he is working. So that's good. It's good Jeremy's not trying to cause a problem for Byron. He's just trying to stick up for Nick. And, because everybody's jumping on Nick because Nick's in a slump. So Jeremy's trying to keep his confidence up and defend him. Then he mentioned Carlos Boozer, as I said earlier. Jeremy said that Carlos is becoming better at pick and roll. In other words, instead of being pick and pop and looking for the jump shot, he said Carlos now is starting to look to go to the basket off of pick and roll plays, because Carlos realizes if he does it, he's going to get easy shots because Jeremy's going to find him. So this is good. It's a teammate responding and growing and adapting with Jeremy and valuing Jeremy's skill. Jeremy will get you the ball going to the basket. And so Carlos wants in on that, and that's great. So as I said, look, Carlos, Nick, and Jeremy are developing chemistry, and you can add Tarek Black into that. If you've noticed tonight, I don't think Robert Sacre played 1 minute. That's not an accident. Tarek's going to get his minutes. Not because Robert's a bad guy, whatever, but Tarek is Tarek, and he's super athletic, and he rolls to the basket. That works, and it works with Jeremy. So these bench guys are developing a chemistry, a cohesion. And now I think, again, you have those three, Nick, Jeremy, and Carlos. Now you're going to have four with Tarek. So those guys got to take care of each other and look out for each other, which is why Jeremy defended Nick Young. Because, again, that's how you build unity. That's how you build camaraderie. And then those guys will look out for you, and they don't know they can trust you and whatever. Just the same way that Damian Lillard knows that his teammates are going to come to him late in the game. This is how Jeremy gets stability. I do think that this sets up well for Jeremy to stick around the team. Now, I'm not saying he will or he won't, but he's developing continuity with these guys. Nick, I think will remain with the Lakers. Carlos, I don't know. I don't know what Carlos's contract situation is. I'd have to look at that. Is he going to be a Laker next year? I mean, he's played pretty well this year. He started out not so great. Now he's playing pretty well. So I think there's a good chance they'll keep him around. So in other words, look, I've said it before. I've talked about the team grooming Lin and all this, and this team is going to revolve around Kobe as long as Kobe is there. As long as Kobe is there and Kobe can play, it's going to revolve around Kobe, particularly with Kobe playing and Byron as the coach. That's the way it's set up. However, if Kobe can't play, or even if Kobe can play, with all these body issues that Kobe's having now, it seems very far-fetched to think that Kobe's going to play beyond next year, in my opinion. So if you're this bench crew, particularly the younger guys, Carl's a little older, but if you're Nick and you're Jeremy, you might just kind of bide your time. And let's start getting used to playing with one another so that when we become starters, we already have good chemistry. And we can make a push to become the starters. So I can see it. I can see it working. Again, I'm not saying that it's what will happen. I'm not saying that anything. I don't know if the guys will be around, but what they're doing is smart, and it's starting to pay off. Jeremy's being a leader. Those guys are looking out for Nick to get him through the slump. And Carlos is starting to adjust how he works on pick and rolls to maximize Jeremy and to maximize himself. This is good. We didn't see a lot of this in Houston, right? There wasn't a lot of adapting to Jeremy. Now we're starting to see some of that, and Jeremy really can have a leadership role. Good. That's what he wants, and that's what he's good at, and that's going to help him. So I'm happy. I'm happy with that. Okay, then Scott was praising Ronnie Price after the game, which is not a surprise. What do you want him to say? He's the guy that stuck up for Ronnie after the last Portland game. Ronnie got torched down the stretch in this game. What do you think? I mean, Byron's got to defend him. So I'm not surprised by that, right? And he's got to defend him. He's his starter, so that's what he did. And then Byron said, we competed hard, which again is Byron's an old school coach. It's all about effort and energy and working hard, even if you're not working smart. So they did compete hard. So, I mean, that's what he's going to say. That's how Byron is as a coach. Then again, Scott brought up Nick Young, as I mentioned, saying, well, yeah, Nick's he's practicing, but he's not practicing the right way, right? Blah, 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 blah. Then Byron praised Damian Lillard, said, yeah, he's pretty good, right? Well, yeah, he was pretty good in the last game, too. In other words, it's not just Jeremy here. Jeremy wasn't the problem here. Jeremy's defense wasn't the issue here. So now Byron's saying he's pretty good. Well, yeah, because you put Ronnie on him, and that didn't do anything. So now it's not about the defense on him. It's just Damian's pretty good. Right. So we expect to hear that, right? Once more, the bench was better than the starters, as I went over earlier in the game. That's inescapable, and it is certainly a pattern with the team since Byron made the changes to the lineup with Ed Davis and Ronnie. And finally, the team is now 2-4 without Kobe in the lineup, which is, I don't know exactly what that percentage is. It's fairly similar to what the team is overall, which, maybe it's not having a big effect, Kobe in, Kobe out. Okay. And the starting lineup changes, I'd have to go over what they are right now. They might be a little bit better than the other lineup, but not much. So again, Byron has to keep looking at things. He has to keep evaluating what he wants. And let's not forget that in some ways the Lakers would be well served to tank this year, to not win a lot. Because if they win too much, then I don't think they get the pick that they got from Phoenix. In other words, they have to be, I believe, it's one of the worst 5 teams in the league to maintain that pick. So the conspiracy theorists and such will think, well, they don't want to win. So maybe Byron's doing exactly what they want him to do, which is lose. There's that element as well. Okay, that's about it. As I said, look, the overall here is a very long video. As I said, there's a tremendous amount to discuss in this video. I wish the team would have won. I'm okay with how it turned out. Byron got to see how Ronnie did against Damian. And I like what I'm seeing and hearing from Jeremy. And I like what I'm seeing and hearing from Jeremy's comrades on the second unit. They're working to support Nick. Carlos making adjustments to work with Jeremy. Jeremy's taking the leadership role. Yeah, Jeremy didn't play a lot tonight. That doesn't surprise me in the least. Jeremy played 19 minutes. I knew coming into this game, and I'm sure many of you knew it as well, that with Byron's vision of Damian Lillard in his head, he was going to play Ronnie a lot against Damian Lillard to see if it would pay off. So this was an experiment. It might not have been a successful experiment for Byron, but we knew this was going to happen. And honestly, Byron might do the same thing the next time around. Maybe he'll think the percentages, if he keeps doing it, and Ronnie's defense, it'll eventually work, or it'll give the team a better chance to succeed. So I'm not surprised at all. I thought that Jeremy did well in the minutes that he played. He didn't shoot well. That's the only thing you could say about him tonight. And the misses that he had were good misses. There wasn't any wild misses. He was very on target tonight. His shot was in good form tonight. Just a little bit here, little inches away from the right distance. But the aim was good. He was in line on his shots. Just missed a couple more. Nothing terrible, but not perfect. He played under control mostly. 3-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. His turnovers per 36 number, which I mentioned in a recent video, that's going to go down, which is good. It was at 3.0, went back up to 3.2. Now it'll go down a little bit more again. I'm content with this. Sure, I've been happy with the team won, but Jeremy did his job and performed well in the time that he was given. And that's it. On to the next game, and let's just go from there. So I'm at peace with this result and the way that Jeremy played within the game, again, in the 19 minutes that he was given. So the next game coming up will be against the Miami Heat, and that'll take place 2 days from now on Tuesday, January 13th, here in the United States. It'll take place 10:30 Eastern Time, which means 7:30 Pacific Time, and that also means 11:30 a.m. on Wednesday, January 14th in China, Taipei, Taiwan, and in the Philippines. The game will be on in the United States Time Warner Cable Sportsnet, as well as NBA League Pass. Look, Miami, they're not a great team. They're not as good as they were without LeBron. They've been doing okay. I think they are still in a playoff position right now. They're 16-21, so they're not too far under 500. They have a better record than the Lakers do. And looking at the standings, yes, they are currently in 7th place in the Eastern Conference, meaning they're fighting for a playoff spot. They still have Dwayne Wade. They still have Chris Bosh. So that's going to be an interesting game. It's a winnable game for the Lakers, but it's not going to be an easy game for the Lakers. And I don't know how the odds will go on that. If I had to guess, I would say that the Heat will probably be slightly favored in that game, and particularly so if Kobe's out again. And I have no idea whether Kobe will play again or not on that day. So we'll just have to see. But it's a game that if the Lakers play well, they could win. So we'll just, again, let's hope for a good team. Certainly Miami is a lot less of a team than Portland is. So if the Lakers can put out a good effort and stuff on that day, they can win that game. So hopefully that's going to be the result. Okay, that is it for now. Thumbs up, thumbs down, your comments below. We want to thank Gary Chen for the artwork you're looking at right now on the screen. Gary is a blogger and artist in Taiwan, and you can learn more about Gary by checking out the information for his Facebook in the video description below the video player. Also in the video description, you'll see info on how you can check out highlights of this game tonight, Lakers versus Blazers. You definitely want to see the Damian Lillard dunk. That was just crazy, and worst scene. Actually, he had 2 dunks, and they're both worst scene, quite honestly. I was talking about the one where he was fouled later in the game. Information as well about how you can come and join the Conservative Media Facebook group, which has over 3,500 members and counting. Also, how you can come hook up with us on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter. I have 2 different accounts on there. We have the CNM J-Lin Vids account and my own personal account. Come and join us there. We're talking. We get on there all the time. There's so many good people on there that are Jeremy Lin fans all around the world. And it's great. We have a lot of fun. We have the Twitter after parties when the team does well and Jeremy does well. It's a great group of people, smart, nice, kind. It's just good vibes, good times. So we certainly encourage you to come and do that. And we talk about everything, not just basketball. Once again, I am PFV, Paul F. Villarreal, the NBA expert. Thanks a lot for watching Conservative Media. Strive to be the #1 Jeremy Lin YouTube fan channel. This is almost a 2-hour video. I did not intend to make it this long, although I knew it would be long. But I'm happy to make this. This was an interesting game, and we learned a lot from this game. And I do like where Jeremy is. We're not going to be satisfied with his game probably this year. There will be moments where we will be, but I'm talking about his total game, which, again, I think he is becoming more comfortable with. He's still learning. He's still growing. Stay with him. Give him time. We don't know what he's going to do. He might not know what he's going to do in terms of at the end of the year and so on. But things are heading in the right direction. I think they're heading in the right direction for him personally, and I think they're heading in the right direction for him with the team and just his basketball career. So I don't know. We'll see. Again, we're just on to the next game, and the adventure picks up again against the Miami Heat on Tuesday. So that's it for now. Hope you're having a great night or great day wherever you are around the world when you watch this video. It's currently 4:13 a.m. here on the East Coast of the United States on Monday, January 12th, 2015. That means it's 5:13 p.m. currently in Taipei, Taiwan. take care. Stay warm if you're in the northern hemisphere. I know it's cold up here in the northeast of the United States. Hopefully it's a lot warmer down where Melody Ting is in Australia, where it's summer. I know I was watching the Brisbane International Tennis Tournament with Roger Federer and Milos Raonic. Great final. Federer won his 1,000th career victory. Terrific achievement, and it looked pretty hot down there because all the fans in the stands of the arena where those men were playing were all fanning themselves. So it looked like it was quite warm, which is nothing I can relate to at the present time. So that is it for now. Take care. We will talk to you again soon. We'll look for you in the comments, and we'll look for you on Twitter.